Always serve them first, which applies to any communication. So with networking, it's like, be generous first. Serve your audience before you serve yourself.
Hey guys, it's Matt Haycox here, and today I've got with me Esther Stanhope, the Impact Guru. She is a motivational speaker, an author,
an all-rounder.
Yeah, an all-rounder.
A coach.
A coach, and she's got a new book out, and we're lucky enough to have her here today to talk about top tips on how to communicate, on networking, how to even remember people's names.
and how to speak in public.
And how to speak in public, and lots more. So thanks a lot for being here.
Thank you, Matt. You are a saviour. Thank you for having me. It's a real pleasure. Thank you. That's a bit disgusting.
Not poos, but I think that's what they call it, isn't it?
My professional background is that I've been a senior producer at the BBC for many years. I started out as an entertainment reporter. So my background's all broadcasting, live shows in a studio, making people brilliant.
As a broadcast reporter, that's you in front of the camera?
Actually, no, as a showbiz reporter at the beginning, I was like a little junior with holding a microphone, literally like that, see? And I'd be like interviewing people like you, and all I was after was getting sound bites. And I worked for Virgin Radio, then I worked for the Capital Radio Group, GWR Group. So I was actually more just gathering audio.
So this wasn't live stuff. This is gathering audio to do, you know.
Yeah, I worked for live shows, but it was mainly me gathering audio. So it was my job to get really good clips from people. So the good thing about that job is that I met loads of famous people, because in 1990. God, what year was it when I was doing that? 96 to 97. So before the Spice Girls were famous, Oasis were like doing Nebworth. I got to do all these concerts. I went to the Reading Festival. I interviewed Michael Hutchins and Paula Yates and Madonna and George Clooney. I literally, any kind of famous red carpet event or the Dorchester Hotel press junket type thing, for about 2 years, I literally was at all of those events. So I got to see what charisma was really like in the room. And quite often, it wasn't that great. and so in a way, my background's all about what is it that makes people charismatic? What is it that gives people that presence?
Did you find that you were learning things, from some of these people on the red carpet? I mean, obviously everyone talks about, George Clooney and his, I guess his impact, his charisma, whatever. I mean, did you kind of study these people to have takeaways?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing was I was in my 20s then, so I just kind of took people. Whatever I found in front of me, I thought, God, they're not that nice, are they? Quite often, if you meet your star, your idols, you realise they're not as good as you think. Have you experienced that?
It happened to me with Jim Davidson.
Oh, no.
I was mortified.
Oh, no. What was he like?
So grumpy.
He's quite
so grumpy. He was coming to speak at a charity, to be a comedian at a charity event, and the guy putting the charity event on was a friend of mine, and I convinced him to put me next to Jim, and I was so excited. I've watched him all his naughty stand up through to his kind of like Tamer, Big Break, and all that.
Yeah.
I just loved him as a comedian and as a performer. And he came and he didn't want to be there, and he was grumpy and he's moaning and complaining about everything. It was so heartbreaking. But then I guess what's interesting is as soon as he'd finished that to then go on stage, when he was on stage, it's just like snap, completely into character.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Quite often what I find is that people are really charismatic on stage. Quite often they might be introvert in their one-to-one, their personality. When you meet them face to face, they might be a bit introvert. I mean, as a producer, you're working with quite big personalities on a daily basis, and you're having to go live on air. And what you find is that people that are a bit nervous or worried about, it's not that he's nervous about public speaking, but he's probably a little bit nervous about going on stage. And so you kind of like shut down the outside world a bit, so don't take it personally. I used to go...
Jim does like me after all.
Yeah, I remember going into the BBC at like 4 a.m, ready to do the breakfast show, and everyone was in a mood, because everyone's tired. And then you have to be really good when you're live on air, but you've got to save your energy. So I remember meeting, there were people like, I remember meeting John Bon Jovi, and I had a one-to-one interview with him in a hotel. I just remember he's really short and really quiet. Like, you would never believe it was John Bon Jovi.
But he still had big hair, did he?
He did, yeah. But I don't know, when you meet people in real life, you're like, wow. Like Madonna was really moody.
Oh, really?
Madonna's about 5'3". I'm 5'1". She wasn't much bigger than me. I mean, she's tiny. Kylie Minogue's about that big. She's tiny. People are always smaller in real life. But Madonna was really moody. It's because it was a big press conference and she hates the press. And I was such a fan. I was so excited. And then when I actually met her in real life,
I think that's the thing.
very nice.
A lot of the time, people talk about these comedians like weren't funny in real life, and I get it. You're kind of doing a job.
Yeah.
So why would you be walking around telling jokes all the time?
Yeah.
But I think there's a difference between being kind of on duty and off duty, and then just being rude. And for me, with a lot of these people, that's what the problem is. It's just arrogance. It's not that you don't expect Madonna to be singing.
No.
When she's walking around, but you just do expect a certain level of just normal courtesy.
Yeah, and this actually does translate to. So I wrote the book Goodbye Glossophobia, which is about the fear of public speaking.
Here we go, guys. Keep listening, keep watching, because we are going to give one away on social, maybe two if Esther's feeling generous.
Absolutely. So Goodbye Glossophobia means the fear of public speaking. And what I find when it comes to business people is that quite often, and I work with a lot of leaders, I work with a lot of women leaders, quite often when it comes to that presence, walking on a stage, being on a panel, speaking at a conference, speaking at the town hall, owning your space and being charismatic, people in business quite often, they don't think they can do it. They don't think that people say, oh yeah, but you're born with charisma. Well, yeah, to a certain extent, but the reason I wrote the book is because I actually used to be a really, really nervous and terrible public speaker, and I was always really good at making other people good, but then I had to do it myself, which is now it's my job. I can't believe
what changed it for you? How did you learn or educate yourself? What made the difference?
I mean, it is. I literally used to shake, sweat, forget my lines. I was terrified. I felt like a rabbit in the headlights. I felt like the audience were going to basically get their bows and arrows out and shoot me as if I'm the animal and they're the hunters and I was going to die. There's something about, a lot of people can relate to that. 75% of us suffer from fear of public speaking, apparently including Prince Harry.
Oh, really?
Not that I've met him.
But do you find that people, fear it less and less the more they do it? Is it like anything that the more you do it, the more practice you get at it? Absolutely.
And the reason I wrote the book is because I thought, you know what, it is horrible when you're afraid to go in front of a panel or when you to go on stage. But a lot of my clients, that is holding them back in their business and their career. So and then I realized, and people started asking me, can you speak? I remember the first time I was asked to speak, it was at a law firm. They were like, can you come and speak at the Women's Network? And I was like, what do you mean speak? And they were like, because I'd already run sessions with them, I'd run leadership sessions. I said, what do you want me to speak about? And they're like, your sessions, your tips, because I'm full of tips for everyone else. And I just remember thinking, oh no, I'm going to have to do it. But I can absolutely say, if you are afraid of something, you've got to do it. And then you've got to do it again. And then you've got to do it again. And then you've got to fail. And then you've got to get up and do it again and again. And the more you do it, you can literally go from shaking, coming out in a rash, dreading it, wanting to dig a hole and get in the hole instead of speak in front of an audience. You can go from that to being brilliant at it. And what I've learned is that anyone can be brilliant at public speaking. Everyone's got a personality. Everyone's got a sense of humour. Have they? Matt, have you got a sense of humour?
I hope so.
You can do it. I know, but the thing is, you've got the confidence. You've kind of, because you've been a success in your life and your career.
I think for me, because the thing I would fear is, or do fear, is just knowing my content on each. I don't have an issue with with the speaking and whether it's one-on-one or one to in front of 100,000 people. Not that I have, but for me, it's just about knowing with great clarity what I'm speaking about. And I think I'd have the same fear whether it was to 100,000 or to one-on-one if I didn't know what I was saying, because if you're going to make a fool if you are going to make a fool out of yourself,
I bet you've never done that, Matt.
Only when I'm drunk. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm the same. And the funny thing is that when I'm helping my clients, and a lot of my clients work in the financial services sector, I work with a lot of lawyers, a lot of bankers, I work with big accountancy firms across the world. And I work with people that are into, data analytics, and they're very risk averse in their jobs. And they're all worried, they're super, super worried about the content, and everyone's worried about, am I going to sound clever? And it's funny, the priorities of what people worry about: sounding clever, not making a fool of themselves, getting the content right, being right and kind of proper and correct and not making a mistake. Those are the that's what people think is important. Whereas actually, from coming from a broadcasting background, what I've learned about speaking, helping lots of different personality types speak, it's actually, the content is important, but it's one piece of the puzzle. The most important thing when you're public speaking is that you're there to serve your audience. Mm-hmm. And in this day and age, your audience, don't take this personally, they don't care about you. They don't care. But we never start our process of preparing ourselves to speak at the town hall event, the big VC, the big video conference meeting, the boardroom meeting, the panel interview, the conference. We don't approach it thinking, right, I'm going to start at the beginning. Given that the audience really don't care, like they really don't care about you, the audience only cares about themselves. And in this day and age, the audience is very, 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 very simple to, it's quite simple to think about an audience. In general, an audience has very little time, they're pretty busy, their head hasn't got loads of space in it, and they just want some really good stuff really quickly. They want to be entertained, they don't want to be patronised. So it's about serving your audience. And there was one time when, so my silver bullet tip for speaking is I gave this tip to Boris Johnson, Bojo himself. He used to come in to BBC London when he was Mayor of London. Every month he used to come in and do Mayor's Question Times. And one time he came out and he was like, "You got any tips for me?" And I said, "Yes, Boris. And this is a really good tip, okay?" I said, "All you got to do is this. Love your audience a little bit more than yourself." Do you think he took my advice? I don't think he did he? Because he went, the thing about Boris Johnson, he's a really good example. He's a good specimen to study. Lots of people are good specimens. He's a good specimen because he's an example of somebody who actually loves an audience. He's also extrovert, so he's a bit of a blurter, as we know, bit of a bump. People think he's bumbling and all that. He's very, very clever, obviously, but he genuinely does love his audience. I mean, he loves the attention. So he will go out of his way to serve the audience, so they're laughing at him. He used to come in on a bike and knock over cameras, and you could hear him. You'd be in a soundproof studio, and you could hear ho ho ho, like at the reception. You're like, what the hell's going on? It's Boris Johnson arriving, because he's kind of big and he's got that kind of. He spreads his personality all around the room, and he likes to have people laughing at him. So yeah.
I mean, how important do you think, let's say, an extrovert personality is in being able to deliver good public speaking, or is it as much about, I guess, making the best of what you are? So, if you're not an extrovert character, like not putting an act on, if you are, let's say, not, an out and out humorous person, not making jokes in there for the sake of it. So, do you think you should feature on your personality traits as they are, or are there certain rules regardless of what your personality is?
Absolutely.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so my other big tip. So the first one is serve your audience, serve your audience, serve your audience, right? Make sure you love them first. You're there to serve them, not yourself. The second big tip is, as Oscar Wilde said, be yourself, because everybody else is already taken. And this is this is about personal brand. It's about knowing your personality, polishing up your best bits, doing it your way. You don't, look, I don't know, people think, oh yeah, I've got to be extrovert to be good. No, extrovert doesn't mean good. Extrovert is your personality type. It's about what have you got, how can you be brilliant at being you? And quite a lot of the time when I've got clients that have failed in public speaking, or they've messed up a pitch and it's just, they've embarrassed themselves, is because somebody's told them to do it a way that's not them. Yeah, like for example, a very senior lawyer, male, teaching a 25-year-old woman to do the presentation. No wonder she's going to fail, because that's not how she would have done it. Yeah. For example, or if you're from a different culture, you don't have the same vocabulary as the older guy that's been to Oxford or Cambridge. I'm not putting men down here or people that have been to Oxford and Cambridge at all. But it's about knowing who you are, what your type is. Because quite often people say to me, I want to be more polished, I want to be more professional, I want to have better words, I want to sound clever. It's like, so hang on a minute, are you not like that in real life? Like, what are you in real life then?
Well, for me, I think one of my tips would be that I think a good speech is the perfect balance between preparation and ad-lib as well.
Yeah.
You know, insofar as, you know, for me, there's nothing worse, well, certainly not, you know, reading off a page, but, you know, even when it's just a completely memorized speech or memorized script, I think it's always nice to get, you know, to get the individual personality and, you know, making it up a little bit on the spot. I don't mean, I'm not making it up.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean, yeah.
You know the beginning, you know the end, you know the general feel of the topic, but, you know, if you know your material well enough, that, you know, then you should be able to ad-lib good parts of it as well.
And have a conversation, yeah. I mean, this is the funny thing, because I've got loads of tips on how to have a script, how not to have a script, because people say, do you start with a joke? I'm like, oh no. Okay, does your audience want a joke? Is the joke going to be offensive? If the answer is yes, and the audience...
Then do it.
Don't, exactly. Or should I have a script? So I say, okay, I'll ask the audience, should they have a script? What do you think, to script or not to script? Hands up for script. No one puts their hands up. So there's kind of a general thing. The reason why the audience don't like a script is because they don't think that you're being genuine, because they want a conversation, really. Yep. But there's a way to handle a script. I've got a really good tip on how Barack Obama does it, for example. So Barack Obama used to have see-through teleprompts, or auto cue, we call it in this country. So he'd look at his teleprompt and pause. Right? But there's people over there, so they think he's looking at them. But he's not, he's actually reading his line. He goes... And then he delivers it to the front. And America needs to change its strategy. And looks at the other teleprompt. And the children of America. This is terrible. This is my terrible Barack Obama impression. But you get the idea. Yeah. So basically, he had a script, and it was a teleprompt. But he would pause, he would read. And it's called the view and spew method. View and spew. If you need a script, because it's going to give you more confidence, because there are words in there that you couldn't possibly remember. There is a way of handling a script.
Tell me, when politicians deliver those kind of speeches, how often or how many times have they kind of read it prior? How much preparation have they done? Because I mean, a lot of the time these guys are bashing out speeches, you know, left, right, and centre. I mean, how prepared are they?
Okay, so some people are really good at reading a script. When I'm working in business, quite often they say, no, I'm going to have a script, but I'm going to learn it off by heart. And I go, so basically you're going to be a bad actor, and you're going to spend a lot of your commercial time in your job learning a frigging script as if you're an actor, and you're not even an actor. So you're actually going to spend a day learning a script, and then you're going to be a bad actor. So it's not commercially a good idea to spend your time learning a script, is it? The point that these people are really good at delivering a script are generally good at sight reading. If you're good at sight reading, so for example, Barack Obama pauses, he does one line at a time, takes his time, he trusts his speech writers, they all write together and they're really familiar with each other.
But he will have read it presumably before, I mean, he's not going to deliver it completely blind.
But you know what though, as a producer, in the morning, you're writing cues for the news, you're doing 12 stories every morning. If you've got a good relationship with your presenter, they know that if they get this bit of paper, if they're relatively good at sight reading, they don't even bother. They just trust that it's going to be good.
Have you ever stitched them up? Tell me about a joke. tell me a joke where you've written something dodgy on the auto cue before.
My goodness.
You got no stories on that?
No, I didn't actually write anything dodgy myself, but we used to have this live screen. I mean, I launched Vanessa Feltz's radio show, right? Okay. So there's one time I was doing Vanessa's show, and I'm semi-dyslexic, and Vanessa is super good at English and super good at spelling. Like she won the spelling bee or something. But I used to write stuff on the screen. She'd go, and there's one time I wrote poultry, and I wrote poultry as in chicken instead of poultry. She's like, oh, well, it's creative spelling, isn't it? And then sometimes she goes, I literally cannot read what Esther's written. Because it was one of those live, as you wrote, you could see it coming up. It was like, she said, I actually don't understand one bit of this, so you're just going to have to tell me in my ear what's coming up, because I'd written some gobbledygook. And then, of course, you sometimes you put in brackets. So line 2, Gerald from, Manchester or whatever, and in brackets, a bit of a nutter. Like, if you don't expect them to read it out. Oh, he's a bit of a nutter. No, it's in brackets. So it's like, don't write anything. Never write a swear word on the interactive screen. They'll just say it. Oh, I've got a funny story about swearing online. So there's one show when Gordon Ramsay came in, and it was early morning, so it was kind of, you're going to be on the BBC, don't swear, even though we've got supposedly a 6-second delay. It never works, as if that's ever going to work. Oh, I shouldn't say that. It does work. Yeah, it really does work. So Gordon Ramsay came in, he said something, oh yeah, bollocks to that. I can't remember who the presenter was. It could have even been Danny Baker, I can't remember. He was like, okay, it's a family show, can you not swear? And Gordon Ramsay said, oh, bollocks? Bollocks isn't swearing. Bollocks isn't swearing. Bollocks, 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 bollocks. anyway, we've got complaints, right? Oh. So it's so funny, when you get complaints, the boss says, right, you have to transcribe, can you transcribe it for me, please? So you're sitting there with your headphones on, writing down the exact words that were said on the live show.
And couldn't you dump it on the delay then?
No, no one ever does it.
Oh, really?
I mean, it's too difficult. Anyway, I think it was 16 bollockses.
I did the radio a month or so ago,
yeah.
and they said they did 2 dumps while we were doing that.
2 dumps?
Yeah. Well,
that's a bit disgusting.
Not poos, but I think that's what they call it, isn't it? On that 7-second delay.
Oh, really? Did you swear?
No, we didn't swear. We were talking about kebab shops, and they decided it was racist.
Oh no! Well, actually, if you're going to offend, I mean, the BBC obviously is super, super risk averse.
What was this? This was talk radio.
Yeah, you'd get away with murder on there. But the thing is, if you're going to offend people, it's not really. You'll get loads of complaints, and it's there's being controversial, and then there's actually offending people. Yeah. So my tip really, so in terms of serving the audience, it's about, you're not there to, if you want to shock people because you want to be a bit outrageous, are you doing it for you, or are you doing it for the excitement of the audience? It's really important to get that right.
Yeah, they've got to enjoy it. Yeah.
Yeah, and even then, when I'm helping people in business, it's about, you've got to deliver a message that the audience care about, that will land right for that audience. So, for example, quite often where people go wrong with their speeches in business is that you get a very senior person, they think they have to deliver the KPIs and the figures and the vision for 2021, the vision and the roadmap. So this is a staff meeting about the roadmap of the vision of the... And when you actually ask them, okay, so just hold on a second, before you go on to about your message, what does your audience actually need? What do they care? Guess what? Do you think they care about the vision?
No.
Do you think they care about the roadmap?
No.
What do you think they care about?
Themselves.
Yeah. So what? So what do you think they care about? What does that translate into if they're an audience in a business context?
Well, how are they going to benefit from the information?
Yeah, how? So mainly.
How are they going to make money?
How am I going to make money? How am I going to get promoted? How am I going to? Have I got a job? Are there going to be redundancies? That kind of thing. Okay. So quite often, when I'm helping business people with their public speaking, a lot of it isn't about their own confidence. It's about it's how to connect with the audience. So another really good tip, and then they've got to be themselves. They've got to make it more conversational. The audience don't want you to feel that you're reading a script and you're reading basically a paragraph from the website. So another really, really good tip for public speaking, and particularly in business as well, is tell a story. And I've got a really good tip on how to tell a story, because quite often people in business, particularly in financial services, big global banks, they go, oh, I'm not creative. How can I tell a story? So I've got a really, really good tip on how to tell a story.
Go for it.
Okay, just pick a topic. Doesn't matter, any topic. Just pick a topic. Matt?
Bananas.
Bananas, okay. Now, I'm going to give you no time here, because I know that you're a bit of a wing it wonder type. You're a wing it wonder, which is good and bad. I'll tell you why in a minute. Okay, bananas.
I should have picked
so now,
else.
No, it's fine. No, bananas are good for me. Bananas are good. So now, you have to start a little story, and the beginning of the story is, I remember one time when ... and the subject is bananas. Okay, got it? In 3, 2, 1, go.
So I remember one time when a friend of mine bought me a fancy dress outfit, and it was nothing but 3 bananas. Almost like a bikini, like a bikini.
Is this true?
Yeah, a bikini and a thong. No. Is
that you're lying? Is that a true story?
No, of course it's not a true story.
Oh, it's got to be true.
Oh, it's got to be true.
It's got to be a true story.
Sorry, I thought you wanted me to...
No. Oh my God.
I thought this was
I'm trying to picture this. Oh my goodness. Okay, it doesn't... Okay, here's the trick. It doesn't matter.
Actually, you want a true story
Okay, it could be about mashed banana when you were a kid, or banana bread, or picking bananas, or when bananas go black in the fridge. I remember one time when... 3, 2, 1, action.
I remember one time when it's a restaurant just down the road from here, actually, that was doing a sharing banana cheesecake.
Ooh.
It was fantastic.
Did it go? No, they're all right. Did it go brown?
Well, you couldn't see it. It kind of have cream and stuff on top, so you couldn't tell. But it was like full of banana. I really like bananas. Anything.
Was it like banoffee pie?
Yeah, exactly.
So you like banana bread, banoffee pie?
Yeah, and anything banana based really. Banana smoothie.
Okay, good.
Banana milkshake.
See, the point is, you can always come up. You can come up with a story.
What's the tip here?
The tip is you can pick any subject and you just start with. I remember one time when.
Okay.
Right, and when you're talking to people that say they're not creative. I say pick a topic. It could be, one of your clients. It could be a project you worked on, or a time when you did public speaking, or a time when you were at a conference.
So how do we translate that to storytelling to an audience then?
So you've got to make sure you know who your audience are. You need to make sure what does your audience actually need out of your message, because you're only there to serve them. So what if you've been asked to speak at a conference, rather than go, what we tend to do is go, I'm speaking at a conference. What do I need to say? What's my content? What's my topic? Well, I've got to be clever. I don't want to look like a fool. But actually, remember, the audience don't care. So rather than thinking, what am I going to say?
I'm just laughing about my banana bikini story.
Brilliant story. Now I'm going to tell that.
It's a true story for you, now, isn't it?
It's a true story that you were going on about a banana bikini. He wore an insy-wincy teeny-weeny weird banana bikini. What a nutter. Anyway, so if you're in business and you need to go and speak to an audience, right, just think they don't care. What do they care about? They care about making money. They care about, sometimes, audiences want to know how you made your money. What's your tip for success? Mm-hmm. And then, so when I say like, what's your tip for success? And then can you think of a story that would be a really good little story you could tell for people that like entrepreneurs or startups or business people?
Can I give a specific story? I mean, whenever I answer that question, my tip for success has always really been based around, working hard and being nice.
Okay, so give me an example of maybe when you were young, like the first time you were like, your work ethic probably started when you were in your teens. I bet you worked when you were young. What was?
Well, I've always tried to be in business from a young age. I guess even when I was at school, I was always dabbling with various ideas.
Go on, give me an example. Go on.
Well, so the first. I
remember one time when. See.
I remember one time when my first exciting thing in business was this is back almost before the internet, not before the internet, but before the proliferation of domain names, and I decided I was a big Natalie Imbruglia fan. And I bought www.natalieimbruglia.com. And my original idea was that I was going to make millions off the back of this, and then when I realised I wasn't, I was just going to leverage it for an opportunity to meet Natalie Imbruglia, and that didn't work either. A fellow fan / stalker ended up paying me £500 to buy it off me. but it was still, I guess there was still some business angle in there. But that's
still made £500.
That's the earliest thing I remember.
That's good. See, that's a good story. Oh. That's a funny story, and that kind of shows that you had business acumen when you were age 15, 14, whatever. But what you'll find is that there's loads of little stories and anecdotes that can say quite a lot. So when I told you the story about Boris Johnson coming into the studio, for example, which was about 20 minutes ago, right? Boris Johnson coming to the studio, it paints a picture. It's funny. You can also have, you can embellish stories with the five senses. What does it look like? What does it sound like? Was it funny? What if it's relevant, what was the weather like? What was the atmosphere like? It's just a moment, it's just a little anecdote, but it tells you a lot. So that Boris Johnson story, for example, tells you that I was at the BBC, that I was in a position of, I must have been in charge of a show, that I've met Boris Johnson. It positions me as somebody in the media, in a live studio environment, but without me saying, I worked for the BBC, It just kind of, it quickly positions you in your job. This is what I encourage people in business to do, is to talk about a story that it paints a picture of the kind of person they are, or it paints a picture for people that want to be successful. It's about giving them hope. Like you started out, you failed.
Yep.
But what's the famous quote? Is it 10,000 failures? Yeah, the guy that invented the light bulb.
Oh yeah, yes.
10,000 failures.
It wasn't 10,000 failures. It was 10,000 ways that didn't quite work.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But it makes it like, I can relate to that. So storytelling is just a really good way to connect with your audience. There's lots of reasons why. I mean, the scientific reasons why a story is more compelling than just data and facts.
Listen, let's move on now onto networking. Because I know that's something that you've got lots to talk about as well. And I guess it probably has a lot of the tips will probably have their origins in public speaking. And I mean, I tend to find that communication skills are kind of transferable to whether you're doing one-on-one, whether you're doing it to a camera, whether you're doing it in a stage situation. So I presume a lot of what we've been talking about from a public speaking perspective will still apply to networking as well.
Absolutely, as you said, it's communication all round, and it's all about. So I've got a kind of bit of a formula, which 3 A's, right? The first one is audience. Yep. Always serve them first, which applies to any communication. So with networking, it's like, be generous first. Serve your audience before you serve yourself. And actually, if you use that as a rule of thumb, always give before you take. Always give before you think of yourself.
100%.
Generally, people like you. People will like you if you give them something. The second A is being authentic.
Yep.
That's being yourself. The third A is how to be a little bit awesome. And awesome is more like the Barack Obama body language. What do you do with your voice? What do you do with your eye contact? Should you be looking up? Should you be looking down? How much eye contact? Should you be sitting up straight? What should you be wearing? How can you be a bit awesome, like the Americans? And so those are my kind of rules of thumb. So if you apply that to networking, always just be generous.
Yep.
Ask questions.
What can I do
be interested in the other person. That's always that's a general rule of thumb. But then I've got clients that go, I'm really good with my clients. So I always ask questions. I'm always asking them about them first. I always ask them about them. And then you actually find out that they're literally interrogating them. So it's about having a rapport, and asking questions, nodding and smiling, and then contributing to the.
Well, I think really it's just about what would you do in normal day-to-day life anyway. How would you have a conversation with somebody and how you'd speak to someone at home or speak to someone on the telephone, however it may be.
Yeah.
For me, that's how you would probably be wanting to speak to people in 99% of the time. It's not like, I'm in networking mode. It's ask a question. Answer a question. Just go in there, break the ice, and have a fluid, authentic conversation. Based on how you can serve the other person.
I think people find it really hard to relax. I think a lot of people say to me, I just don't really have the confidence. You need confidence to go into a room and chat to people that you've never met before and just be yourself and be kind of relaxed and effortlessly confident. If you're kind of effortless, but this is one of my awesome tips, right? Generally speaking, right? If you've got open body language, darling, open, which just, you're not kind of like hunched or you're not looking down, you're just, you're looking up, giving good eye contact. If you walk into a room standing up pretty well, with good eye contact and smiling, people will kind of respond to you in a different way to if you were not giving them eye contact and you've got slightly awkward body language. It's like chalk and cheese. So just by standing up well and smiling and being open because if you're smiling at somebody, you're probably approachable. It's that simple. So it's really about giving the audience a message that you are effortlessly ready for conversation. But I've got a really good, a big networking tip. So when people think they go to a networking event, they've got to do business. They've got to meet people. Are you going to be useful to me? Are you going to be useful? Are you going to give me a job? Are you going to give me money? Are you going to give me investment? Are you going to give me a tip so I can invest? I want some of your success. Give it to me. And people think they've got to go and gather business cards. And it's really, really stressful, right? But at a networking event, if you're going to meet people for the first time, it's a bit like a dating event. Not that I've ever been at one of those speed dating events. But the principle is the same, right?
Have you really?
No. But the principle is the same. So at a dating event, right, and a lot of my friends have been on them, if you met somebody for the first time, you wouldn't say, hello, do you want to have children? Too much, right? No. Or, hello, do you want to snog? Too much, it's too much. I mean, maybe if you're really drunk, it's still too much. Seriously, I ask that question sometimes at like a legal conference, and there's always somebody that says, oh yeah, I want children immediately. But it's too much, too soon. And even if you said, hello, hi, can I have your number? Too much. So when you first meet somebody, you don't do business like boom, boom, give me your card.
Build rapport with no expectation.
Yeah, and so the main rule of thumb is slowly, catchy monkey. You know this because you're a successful business person, right? But it's about the most important thing is, do you get on with them? And then what are you going to do after? Are you going to follow up with them? And then it's only worth following up if you've got a connection. And it could be something like, oh, here's an article I read in the Sunday Times about, the villa that you were talking about, or, oh, I heard a funny story about bananas. And like for you, I might send you a picture of a banana bikini or something, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Something that's relevant to the conversation. And then you build a rapport. You're not going to do business straight away.
100%.
And when I say to an audience, has anyone ever actually done a transaction? Have you actually done a deal, a transactional deal, when you first met somebody at a networking event? Hands up. And then someone goes, oh yeah, of course, there's always one. Yeah. I did. I say, okay, how did that work? You actually signed a contract? No, of course they didn't. Yep. Of course they didn't sign the deal. Maybe they had a really good chat and they were saying, there's something in this, maybe we could do something together.
There's something immediate we can do.
Yeah, but the immediate thing is you chat afterwards, or you go for a coffee, or you have a brainstorm, or you go to the office to talk about the actual deal, but you don't actually do a deal on a one hit. So my main tip when people are worried about this, oh, I have to go there and I have to make all these business connections, my main tip is, you know what? Go there, be yourself, be generous, enjoy people's company, don't stay with the same person for too long. There's a whole other tip in that, how to dump with dignity. But, waft around the room, enjoy yourself, connect.
Dump with dignity.
Yeah, you have to dump with dignity.
There's so many connotations of that.
Yes, I know. And there are simple tips for that too. But, enjoy it. And also business, it's like you should we should be enjoying our daily job. And that's why, so my main message about the whole communication piece is enjoy being yourself, enjoy telling stories, go and share yourself, go and share how brilliant you are. Go and stand on stages or at town hall events or on video, get on video and, give. That's my message.
Fantastic. Well, listen, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And we're going to do a competition, aren't we, to give away one of your books?
Yeah.
So I was thinking what we should do is to test that people have been watching properly.
Yeah.
That if you comment below what Esther's 3 A's of the top networking tips were.
Or the 3 A's for all communication.
Or for all
That's quite hard. Shall I do a quick clue?
Well, they've got to go back and watch it.
All right, okay. Okay, fine.
Or you can give them a different question.
I don't mind. No, that's good. That's good because they have to go back and watch it.
We're going to test your engagement, guys. Test your engagement. You're going to go back and watch it all again. Esther's three A's. Top tips of networking or communication in general. And you will get a copy of Goodbye Glossophobia.
Yes, banish your fear of public speaking.
And it's going to be hand-signed by the author. So thanks a lot for watching, guys. Esther, before you go, go on.
I'm going to sign it. Look, you can get this.
While he's signing it, just so that people can follow you, where can we find you? We can find you on Instagram?
If you Google and you look on any platform, Esther Stanhope, and Esther is spelt with an H.
So
Esther Stanhope.
ESTHERSTANHOPE.
Yeah.
On Instagram.
Esther Stanhope.
On Twitter.
Yeah, LinkedIn. Yeah, Facebook. My main tribe is LinkedIn. That's just what I do.
Perfect. And guys, for you, those of you who watch me on YouTube but still don't follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, etc., I am at THEMATTHAYCOX. That's at the Matt Haycox on everything. So Esther, thank you very much.
Thank you, Matt.